Hi, this is Jen.
And this is Brittany, and we're the Village Homeschoolers. And today we're ready to laugh. We hope you'll laugh with us.
Embarrassing moments.
Embarrassing moments in the homeschool co-op. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Village. So we have been saying this was actually an idea we were going to do as a series. It was like Tales from the Homeschool Co-op. And we wanted to tell funny stories or incidents that had happened, but we weren't sure how that would work out. It's hard to do without images. So we just had something happen. And Jen said, "Oh gosh, this is so embarrassing when I do this." And I said, we need to do embarrassing homeschool co-op moments on the podcast because we have some good ones.
Yeah. Apparently all those pictures you posted were...
Yes, our most popular moment on Instagram was when Jen is running to catch somebody. And I'll have to relink it again.
So many people I know sent me that picture laughing hysterically.
Like, we blew up Instagram for like 12 hours because people I was like, follow. I was like, oh my gosh, we finally have 6 listeners. Because I was making a face in one photo, but Jen was like leaping to the help.
It was like a very action-y pose, like all blurred.
Yeah, and her face was horrified. So anyway, when we're funny and ridiculous and making fun of ourselves, apparently that's when people find us the most lovable. So we're going to talk about our embarrassing homeschool co-op moments because there's some good ones.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in general, I think we're always kind of ridiculous because we do a lot of things that make the kids laugh.
Well, I am well known as I will sacrifice my dignity to make the children pay attention.
And she's even to a point where I'm like embarrassed for her sometimes. I'm like, oh God, Brittany, what are you doing?
Oh gosh, when did I embarrass?
Why are you slithering on the floor?
Oh yeah, listen.
We do aerobics in the morning.
Yeah. And I am humiliating. I don't even care. You know what? Children are moving and learning about their bodies, Jen.
And they're doing it. But my 12-year-old will... he's like, I'm not doing that. Do I have to do that? It's like, no, you don't have to.
No.
Keep your dignity, son.
Yeah. Brittany hasn't. Yes. All right. So our first story that we're going to tell is what we like to call the bee incident. And it happened in the fall of 2021. Mm-hmm. And we need to set you up here a little bit. So at the time, she still is a member of our co-op. We have a massage therapist who is a member of our co-op. And she was like, I am happy to give parents who would like them massages as my contribution to the community.
Right? Isn't that amazing?
It was amazing. I'd had one. So you have to understand, you're like, what, bees? Okay. This was happening at the time. And every morning before co-op started, you could come early and you could sign up for a massage with this member of our co-op while the rest of us set up classes for the day. And we had a parent who we will not name for her dignity that had signed up for that morning. So it was she was in a closed room of the church that we rent for co-op within, I think, just her underwear.
Yes, because when I finally found her, she was shirtless.
Having her massage, which is normal for a massage, whatever. So she's over there doing that. And her children were with Jen and myself and another member of our co-op who was setting up her class and our children. And we were setting things up for the day. And it had just gotten, there's another cold. We live in New England. It had just gotten cold. So the kids had to pull out sweaters and put them on that morning for probably the first time that year. Mm-hmm. And so they're wearing sweaters. And we're outside in this green space. It's basically a yard attached to the church we rent, getting it set up for the day, for the lunch and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And Jen and I don't even know what we were doing. Something like...
We were putting out, I think, jump ropes and stuff for the kids.
Jump ropes to play with. And all of a sudden, behind us, we hear screaming. And not like, oh, kids playing screaming. Like, oh dear, somebody's lost a finger screaming. Yeah. And we turn around and we see a 5 and 6-year-old little boy, one of whom was mine, screaming with terror. I can still hear it.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, how's this funny? We're getting there.
I know, it's terrible.
And
it was not funny at the time.
And then It takes us about 5 seconds to process as they're running across this huge lawn towards us that they're not just running, they're running followed by a swarm of bees.
That are actively stinging them.
That are actively stinging them all over. So Jen and I, in immediate mom mode, take off. I grab my son. She grabs the other person's son, not her son, the 5-year-old. We start taking off their clothes.
Yes, because they're being swarmed by bees.
Yes, and they were getting caught in their sweaters. That's
Yes.
why they would wear the sweaters, and they were stuck in the sweaters.
Mm-hmm. So I'm like stripping this
So
kid
we're
down.
stripping these kids down, and then my son is terrified of insects that sting. So he's screaming not only from pain, because he actually got less than the other child. Mm-hmm. He's screaming from terror. And I am now screaming back at him, you are okay. You are okay. I have you. You are okay. Because I'm trying to get him to calm down, which is not the right way to do it, but I'm panicked. And on top of that, they're getting stung and we're whacking them.
Yeah, because what else are we going to do? So I'm like,
swatting these insects off their faces, off their bodies, they have no clothes on. So meanwhile, the other mother who is setting up her class outside on another part of the lawn area, nowhere near us, she's down a hill. All she hears is whacking and screaming. And she walks up the hill to see Jen and I holding naked children, whacking bees off them and running.
Yeah.
Running. It was.
And I couldn't. So the little boy I had was terrified. He had never been stung by a bee before.
Yeah.
And he was crying for his mother. And I did not know where his mother was.
Right.
So I'm holding this screaming 5-year-old, like without
Through
clothes.
the church. Yeah.
The church.
And we couldn't figure out where she was. And we finally realized she's in the back room having a massage. And we carry her into this very peaceful, they're playing music, there's essential oils environment where she's in the nude with the screaming 5-year-old. And
Oh, I know. And my husband was there, and he saw me pass him like 16 times. And he's like, I don't understand why you're freaking out. I was like, he was stung by a bee, and I can't find his mother. And he's like, it's fine. It's just a bee. And I was like, no, it's not.
It's like 40 bees. Well, and then in my mind, I'm going, okay, we don't know if he's allergic.
Yeah.
They're crying. At this point, other people were arriving and started to jump in to help us. So like one of mom's like swabbing the bee stings with stuff, and then they're giving them like, antihistamines just in case that somebody had in their purse. And we got there, but oh my gosh. And then after the fact, we are like, and the mom who ran up the hill and said, all I saw was heard screaming and you two hitting little boys without their shirts on, because we stripped the sweaters off of them to get the bees off. Oh my gosh.
And then so many people were surprised. They're like, we figured you guys would be calm, cool, and collected. Like, no, we're not.
No. Like literally when you turn around and see a swarm, it was like, Pigpen on Charlie Brown, where he has this swarm of dirt around him. It was like that, but with bees around these two little boys screaming. And what had happened was, we found out later, was that we live in New England. Okay, so a lot of trees are huge and they're really, really old and they die, and the tree people come and they'll cut them out. And if you don't need to like put a house or a building or a garden on it, they'll leave the stumps. And so we had gigantic stumps around the perimeter of this green space, and they're very old, these very old trees. And these insects had clearly gone in to hibernate for the colder weather in the stump. And then two little boys, 5 and 6, thought, this is a fun thing to climb on. And they climbed on it and woke them up.
Angered them.
And angered them. To this day, we put cones around all those stumps
at
our co-op and remind the children there are insects about.
Yeah.
Please don't make them
Because clearly
angry.
I can't handle these kind of situations. I think I was more upset than the kids were.
I just kept thinking in my head, are we going to the ER? Are we going to have airways closing? Like, all I'm thinking in my head is, what a way to start the day.
Yeah.
And we were down another liter at the time, and it was so stressful. But I wish I could have been that other person to see us just whack, whack, whack. You are okay. You are okay. And then picking up these kids and running into the building and interrupting our poor friend's massage. She was very calm. She wrapped herself up in a blanket.
And she's just like, are you okay? And he's like, uh-huh. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've been running for 15 minutes. I'm not okay.
Yeah. I need an antihistamine. Yeah. Yeah, it was quite the experience. I had to go in to tell my kids' dance teacher after the fact, he's had a lot of antihistamine today. If he's a little drowsy, yeah. That's one of our more embarrassing stories. The next actual embarrassing story isn't about us.
Oh boy. Well, my child was part of it.
It is.
And they don't. Yeah. Oh boy.
To this day, I think this speaks to the innocence of homeschoolers, what we're about to talk about. We'll see. So we've talked about multiple times that we have a mother in our co-op who taught a cake decorating class. She taught 2 sessions of it, 2 8-week sessions of cake decorating. And it was super popular and super fun.
The kids loved it.
And in the first session, Jen's son took it, and there was one other male child who took it, right?
Yeah, so they immediately got paired together.
They got paired together to be partners because each child had a partner, and they decorated a cake in pairs. And that's how they did it for 8 weeks. So this week, they were doing a geode cake. And how would you explain a geode cake?
Well, you know what a geode is, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like the cake is a rock and it got broken open and there's a geode inside.
Right. So they scoop out
a chunk of
the cake.
Right. There's like a little cave.
Like a third of the cake. They scoop out a cave and they input rock candy.
Yes.
And then they ice the rest of the cake and they cover it with sprinkles.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to look like a geode. And all the other teams are all girls. And all the other teams pick purple and blue rock candy to make. So like you walk around and like they're there and they've got blue icing and they've carved out a third of the cake and put blue and purple geodes in and they've got purple sprinkles and it looked like a geode.
Yes.
And then we walk over to the 2 boys on the team together, and I am not anywhere near the class, and I walk into the room. Jen is beet red, and all the other adults are laughing hysterically. And I'm like, what is going on? And like, I'm looking at the kids, like they've said a joke, or something. And the kids are not, like, they're just like super proud of their cake.
Yeah.
So I walk over because I can't figure out why, like, several of the adults had to walk away because they were trying not to embarrass the children by laughing.
Because the kids were so proud of this cake.
So I walk over and the team of boys has picked a peachy pink color for the geode.
White frosting.
White frosting.
But like brown right around the geode.
And grayish brown, silvery sprinkles around the geode. And it looked dead on like a female's anatomical parts.
Yeah, they cut like this perfect little
cave.
Yeah, canoe-shaped hole. And then they stuck like pink in the middle.
Flesh pink geodes.
And then they put like this
gray-brown sprinkles around it.
And they were so proud, like beaming with pride over this cake. And then they had no idea why all the moms thought this cake was so great.
Yeah.
It was like, who's that, Georgia O'Keeffe?
Yeah. It was very Georgia O'Keeffe. And so the teacher at the time had at the end of class would take a picture of every single cake that was made in her class. And she had to take that picture 87 times because it kept getting blurry because she was laughing so hard about what the cake looked like. And the fact that these 2 sweet preteen boys had no idea what they had just made.
I had no idea.
And I think we might post it on Instagram. Hopefully we don't get an explicit warning because I want you all, when we put this podcast out, I will make sure there's a picture of this cake.
Geode.
The gaping geode cake. Well, and it was just like, oh my gosh. How has this happened? And like, it was, yeah. And then we went to the teacher, we're like, next time, don't do pink geodes, maybe. Like, just offer the purple and blue and the green.
Yeah.
Like, because that, no one anticipated the cake was going to look like lady bits. And yeah.
It was really funny.
Alrighty. All right, what else how are we doing on time? Oh, we can do it. All right, which one do you want to do next?
My cords.
Okay. All right, for our next one, we're going to go way back in the vault.
I mean, everybody's probably heard the story at this point. But...
It's my favorite to tell. I told my mother. It's my favorite story. It's one of my favorite of all time Jen stories. And it comes back up. And so this was when? Oh, this was 2020.
The heart of COVID.
It was the heart of COVID. So 2020, we shut down co-op when everything shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Summer, we kind of hemmed and hawed, what are we going to do, what are we going to do? And then we decided to do outdoor only co-op. So everyone felt the most comfortable. We've talked about this, like our approach to trying to meet everybody where they were at. So we did outdoor only co-op, and we did not want to charge money for co-op because we were like, we're relying on nature and outdoors and it's going to be inconsistent and blah, 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 blah. And COVID, like, let's just take donations of items and money to get supplies. And so we tried to theme every week. Jen's struggling to keep a straight face. We tried to theme every week around something seasonal. So like in the beginning, we were at the beach because we have ocean access here. We're only about 30 minutes from the coast. And so we did like ocean themed stuff as summer waned. And then as you would imagine, we did fall. We did like leaves changing colors. We did like those kinds of things. We did fall. And then we wanted to do
this video, right?
We wanted to do around the end of October, like pumpkin stuff.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
With the kids. So we needed donations of pumpkins and gourds. Now, we had been out of practice and we needed to explain to everybody how co-op was going to work. And so actually our predecessors were very good about making these cute little videos where kids and adults would explain co-op. And so we were like, let's do a video. Like, let's film like what people need to bring to co-op and how it's going to run, and we'll have the kids help us, and any kids that were willing to help, we would help, and then we'll ask for donations of items and money at the end. And we had never, at this point, we had not podcast, we'd never recorded ourselves.
It was really embarrassing.
So it wasn't a good video because, gosh darn it, we're not editors either. But like, we got on iMovie and we're like, we can do this. So like, we took some videos from our phones, emailed and put them up there. I learned to cut them together, and then I'm like, oh, for stuff we forgot, Jen, we can do voiceovers. This shouldn't be that hard, but I don't want to be the only one doing it. So you need to come help me. So at this point, Jen, we were not afraid of each other in terms of COVID. She was at my house. So anyway, so she's sitting next to me at my computer, and like, we'd written out the script of things we had to say.
Well, yeah. And I was a little embarrassed about my voice because my husband's always like, oh my God, your voice. Because I can be really abrasive because I talk really loud.
So can I.
I know. Well, so I'm super paranoid about my voice.
And yeah.
And so I put on this very fake voice.
So she sits up there. I'm like, okay, Jen, you're going to ask for this. You're going to ask for twine. What else do we ask for? Something. We're asking for a bunch of donations, like craft supplies.
Yeah.
The two I remember were twine and gourds. We needed her to bring pumpkins and gourds. And I'm going to do an impression of Jen. And I feel like my impression is dramatic, but also I don't. Because, dear God. And she went, and she goes, and please bring donations of pumpkins and gourds. And she said it just like that. And
I can't even duplicate it at this point because I've like, it makes me giggle.
And we've podcasted a lot.
Yeah.
But I looked at her and like, there's this dead silence. And I'm just looking at her with a face like.
I know. I was like, are you like grossed out, turned on? What's happening?
And I go, I want to know what you did before you had children and became a homeschooling mother, because that voice, pumpkins and gourds.
Yeah, I was like, bring your gourds. Something along that lines.
Yeah, it was super breathy. And I was like,
it was like a lot of rasp.
Yeah. And I could not hold it together. I was so anyway. And then people then listened to the video because, of course, I kept it in because, gosh darn it, that was funny. And they were dying laughing. Like, who is that? I was like, that's Jen. They're like, no way. I'm like, yeah, that's Jen. And then her poor own husband was like, I've never even heard that voice. Gourds. And so forever and ever, Jen will be known as the sex phone operator who works with gourds.
Bring your gourds.
And your twine. Yeah. And it was just so hysterical. And like, we tell people that story and they are like, what? And so a year and a half later, we start to talk about doing a podcast and I go, I would like to do it with you, but you can't use the gourds voice.
You just imagine it.
Yeah.
Hello, listeners.
Yeah, it's Danny, Village Homeschoolers. I was like, you may not use the gourds voice. So it will follow her into oblivion. I was like, just be who you are. It's fine. Your voice is fine. So yeah,
like gourds. Our fourth embarrassing moment, the podcast.
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's true. We're always embarrassed about what we say on the podcast.
Yeah, one time my child tried to turn it on YouTube, and I was like, "Do not do that."
Yeah. Yes. Our fourth embarrassing moment is this, and the fact that we even do this. I feel like sometimes I black out. I have no idea what I say for the hours we record in the basement of the library room that we rent. And that's why sometimes you'll hear other things in the background because we don't have a podcasting room. But yes.
But people quote us sometimes. They're like, "Well, you said," and I'm like, I say all kinds of crap on there, and I don't remember it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm always, and then Jen will even be like, "Remember when you said that?" I'm like, "I did." Oh gosh, I'm gonna crawl in a hole.
Yeah.
You know, like
just what did I?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, after the fact, I have all sorts of regret, but it's out there. Welcome to the internet.
Speaking of things being out there,
yeah.
right?
So this is a lone Jen.
Brittany does not do this.
I don't do this, but it's embarrassing for Jen. I actually think it's endearing, although this is my fault because I started this darn tradition. So I'm a big believer in that people feel appreciated if you use words of affirmation to tell them that. So when we were trying to include people working in co-op and feeling included and wanting to put forth effort, we used this thing where we call shout outs, where people can give an anonymous shout out or a non-anonymous shout out to somebody they see doing something awesome at co-op, and then we'll put it on our website at the end of the day. And this is what we started, and it's fairly successful.
Yeah.
And we include shout outs too, but a lot of them are from other people. Like it's not just us. But then Jen has taken this to a whole new level.
I write love letters.
Yes. They're gushing.
They're so embarrassing afterwards. I write them and I'm like really in the moment because sometimes I leave co-op and I just love everybody so much.
Yeah. Or she doesn't love everybody, but she loves certain people.
Yeah.
And those people she really feels bonded to.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened last week. Shout out to Elizabeth, who got a real love letter because she was not feeling anything but Elizabeth.
Yeah, I was really feeling Elizabeth last week.
Well, she's a good person.
She totally is. But I totally, I write really embarrassing, gushy, romantic almost. This is probably why everybody thinks I'm a lesbian.
No, like they are, like if you want to feel good about yourself, you need a love letter from Jen.
I know. I need to do it professionally, I think.
Yeah.
Because I would never.
Work for Hallmark.
Yeah. I would never write this to my husband because you'd be like, what is this?
Do you hit send and then feel remorse after?
Yes.
But do you make yourself hit send anyway?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I want them to know that I feel this way, but at the same time, I don't want them to know I feel this way. It's really, I'm conflicted.
But you do it.
I do it. And then I'm like, God, this is so stupid.
And I used to try to like edit them for her, and she now refuses to let me edit them, so she just posts them herself. So they're not even anonymous.
They're not. They're totally from me.
She's like, this is Jennifer, and I love you so much, blah, 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 blah. And it's like hilarious.
I know. I wrote some really nice things to Elizabeth to the point where I think she was going to cry.
She did. I think she did.
This is the nicest thing anybody said about me. And I was like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm sorry.
I mean, and now we're trying to get Jen over. Don't feel ashamed of your feelings. It's a good thing to have people to tell people that they're worthy and lovely and
I know,
wonderful.
but I don't want people to think, like, I don't want to set this expectation where, I don't know. I don't know what expectation I don't want to set, but I don't want to set it.
She's bright pink even talking about
Yeah,
it.
see, I'm so embarrassed. I really feel it in the moment, though. But then, like, afterwards, I'm like, that was probably uncomfortable for people. Like, I'm saying and people have particularly women, such a hard time accepting compliments.
That's true.
That I'm like, am I embarrassing people? Are they going to be like, not make eye contact with me afterwards? Because they think.
Do they not?
I don't know.
I make eye contact with you. We're making it right now.
And I say,
And I've been the recipient of lots of Jen's love letters.
Lots of love letters, yeah, to the point where I was like, I need to probably chill this out, or people are going to start thinking things about me.
Well, they already do. They're wrong. Please listen to our podcast on female friendships.
It's platonic, I swear.
But I also think maybe this is a note to all of us listening, including myself, that we need to write these to you, because I think this is you.
You think that's...
I think you need, although you're going to die if I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I think you need love. And maybe that's why you're doing it.
I want other people to know that people care about them and appreciate them.
Yeah, but maybe you need to know that too.
Well, I mean, it's never a bad thing to hear, right?
Okay, well, we're going to start writing them. All of you in co-op are writing them to Jen. Get ready. Get your pen out. She can blush at home alone when she reads them later. Yeah. Love letters.
Oh, God. Maybe I'll never come to co-op again.
She's bright red.
Yeah,
right
I don't
now.
like people saying nice things about me. It's hard.
So, yes, that is some of our most embarrassing co-op stories. I'm sure we'll have more.
Oh, yeah. There's more, I'm sure.
So this is the series. It's not going to be Tales from Co-op. It's going to be embarrassing things that we do or others do at Co-op, and we're going to talk about them. Stay tuned for more embarrassing stories. Do you have an embarrassing homeschool story? We'd love to hear it. Although I don't know, it's hard to top a lady cake. And gourds. But
It's funny. Every time you say gourds, you like do a little.
I do a little shoulder shimmy.
She
Gourds. I don't think she shimmied when she did it, but
I did not.
In my mind, her mind was shimmying. Her voice was a shimmy. Gourds. If you have one of those stories, we'd love to hear them. If you can't laugh at yourself, what joy do we have anymore, right?
Yeah, that's all I got going for myself.
Humor is good. All right. Thanks so much for listening. Share your funny stories. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and at thevillagehomeschoolers@gmail.com. And we'll be back next week with more.